Well, Matt, I'm standing here in Georgia, but think of this as a snapshot for what's playing out across America. Early voting has soared to unprecedented levels, and the choice for voters, of course, is as sharp as it can be. Here in Georgia, between the Trump-backed former football star Herschel Walker, a man who is mired in controversy but somehow is managing to ride high in the polls against a reverend from the same church as Martin Luther King. And for Herschel Walker, Reed Carey Lake in Arizona, Dr. Oz in Pennsylvania, and J.D. Vance in Ohio, and on, all Trump-endorsed candidates who are fighting against Democrats who are desperate to shift the narrative away from the economy and an unpopular president. No wonder the mayor of Atlanta said to me yesterday that he is just hoping for some election day magic.
It's election day in America, and it's no exaggeration to say the decisions that voters make here in Georgia today and across the US will determine not just the balance of power in Washington, but the shape of American democracy to come.
So just to make sure that our voice is heard.
For voters, a stark choice between a Republican Party that Joe Biden says will strip people of their freedoms in a Trump-fueled lurch to extremism, or, say the Republicans, a country riddled with crime, inflation and illegal immigration under the Democrats.
I just want to see a change, and I think that if I keep the same people in there, there's not going to be any change.
Election Day is Tuesday, November 8th, so seize your opportunity to make a difference.
It's not just control of Congress. Dozens of governor races will determine who signs off on future election results. Here in Georgia, that contest is between the incumbent, the Republican Governor Brian Kemp.
Here's my commitment.
Whose claim to fame is that he refused Donald Trump's demands to overturn the results of the 2020 election.
And I'm not backing down from this fight.
Neither is she, the indomitable Stacey Abrams, a woman who on the one side is lionized for her success in getting out the vote, but on the other, as a wannabe governor, is behind in the polls.
Take 3 steps back, please. Sir, back.
But the clash for senator is far harder to call. From nowhere, the Republican candidate, the Trump-backed former American football star Herschel Walker, has crept up on his rival Raphael Warnock, and the two are running neck and neck in the polls. Hence Warnock zigzagging across the state, and where he can't be, he sends his avatar instead. Digital Warnock pulled up in this neighborhood yesterday, where we just happened to be next door, at a local barber shop that was giving away free haircuts to encourage the community to vote.
Can I just ask you who you're going to go for?
Warnock. Yeah, he's a politician, not an athlete.
I don't know who I will be voting for just yet, but I won't be voting for Herschel Walker.
Do you know who you're going for?
I'm going for Stacey Abrams.
And what about the senators, Warnock or Herschel Walker?
Warnock.
The Democrats might have an edge here, but no one's kidding themselves about the rumbling of a Republican red wave.
That must make people like you very worried.
Very nervous. Everything is at stake. This is a very consequential election. The state of everything rides on who gets elected and what direction our state and our country is going to go in.
Amid the bustle, the mayor of Atlanta dropped by, taking a seat for a quick cut and critique of the Democrats' fortunes.
You know, what do you say to those people who say the Democrats just haven't been pointed enough, and that's why we're seeing these tight battles?
We're in a time right now coming out of COVID that you have high interest rates and high inflation. And so now we're seeing the pendulum swing the other way. Midterm elections are a lot about change, so you do often see different parties get in place. It says a lot about our division in the country.
He's hopeful, if realistic, about Democrats' prospects, which have slowly fizzled after a summer surge in the face of relentless Republican messaging that places Democratic leadership at the center of all America's woes.
The highest mortgage interest rates in 20 years, the highest gas prices in U.S. economic history, and a humanitarian crisis on the southern border that has no precedent in the history of this country. It is a disaster.
It's a message that has trumped fears of Trump and his extremism and elevated the economy to the #1 spot in voters' minds, which, as the party in charge, bodes ill for the Democrats and could change the landscape of American politics, not just here in Georgia, but if the polls are right, across America too.
Siobhan Kennedy reporting from Georgia there. Well, whatever happens today, it'll set the stage for the race for the White House in 2024. And yes, that might become a rerun of 2020 if Donald Trump declares next Tuesday and then secures his party's nomination. And of course, if President Biden decides to stay on and fight on.
Are you considering a run again? Big announcements you're teasing.
I think Tuesday will be a very exciting day for a lot of people, and I look forward to seeing you at Mar-a-Lago.
Well, for Joe Biden, democracy is on the ballot today as much as his own record, and it's been a long campaign.
What's your new reality going to be like in Washington?
More difficult. Well, with me now to discuss all this is Republican pollster and political consultant Frank Luntz and Celinda Lake, a leading Democrat pollster and political strategist who worked for Joe Biden's 2020 campaign. Welcome to you both on this wonderfully sunny roof. These are very, very interesting and perilous times for American democracy. Frank Luntz, we've covered many of these elections together. There's nothing quite like this one, is there, and why?
Well, I teach at Radley College near Oxford. And I tell my students to have faith in democracy, to be patient, that things always work out. But I'm not convinced myself anymore that it is going to work out. We're so angry, we're so divided. And now we have a number of places across the country where we have candidates that simply will not accept the election results. That doesn't indicate democracy is working, that indicates democracy is failing.
So when Biden says that democracy is on the ballot, he's right.
Except that if you can't afford your food, if you can't afford your fuel, if you can't afford your insurance and your car and your home, that's something that matters right now, and that's what's happening.
And Celinda, is this the problem, that he's using democracy being on the ballot, however legitimately that might be the case, to deflect from the issues that he hasn't been able to solve, like inflation, like the immigration issue, like crime?
Well, obviously the president's had unique successes on all of that, but things are still bad, and so voters are in a mood of, I don't like any of them, I'm going to do a Hail Mary for change. You're not in touch with my life if you think this is good, but we passed the Inflation Reduction Act, prescription drug reform, the biggest crime bill. We've done a lot of action.
But why are people not listening to that? Is it a communications issue?
No, I think it's a real experience issue. Frank is right. When you're paying 40% more for eggs, when your Thanksgiving dinner is going to cost 20% more, you're going to take it out on someone. And the party in power always loses votes in the first midterm. But the democracy is on the ballot, and it's very motivating to Democratic voters. So watch the turnout tonight. If we turn out at the same rates as Republicans, it's because of democracy and because of abortion.
Just to get back to that issue of democracy on the ballot again, the fact that you're now debating whether the count is accurate more than ever before, apart from Florida 2000, that is also extraordinarily damaging for this democracy, is it not?
It's a challenge to the system. It's a challenge that now we're basically saying it's not just the people that are flawed, the system is flawed. And it's why I'm arguing Republican, Democrat, it doesn't matter. We've got to get on the side of protecting the electoral system, of promoting election participation and respect for the actual vote itself. If you lose, acknowledge it. Stand up, be a role model for the next generation, and step aside.
There are 300 Republicans on the ballot who say they believe or do believe the president's lie about having had the last election stolen from him. What's happened to the Republican Party?
It has not been a part of the Republican campaign. It's why I think the Republicans are going to do so well tonight. In the end, I believe they captured the Senate.
But these people believe that nonsense.
But I'm saying that it is not something that matters to the public. And I'm confident that should Kevin McCarthy become Speaker and Mitch McConnell become Majority Leader, that will not be at all a part of their agenda.
We keep talking about President Trump. He has this incredible ability to steal the limelight, and maybe we should hold back a little bit as well.
Willing.
Okay, but President Biden has said he would run again. Again, like many other people, I look at him, and frankly, I think, is he going to be up to it in 2 years' time?
He's totally up to it. He's one of the most energetic presidents we have.
He's not one of the most energetic presidents you've ever had.
He's been all over the campaign trail. Could you have kept the schedule he kept in the last week? I couldn't. He's been every place. He's articulated, and people aren't looking for a marathon runner for president. They're looking for someone who can get things done, who fights for people, and Joe Biden epitomizes that.
Is the other problem for the Democrats that there is no obvious alternative to Biden, just as the Republican Party isn't hawk to Donald Trump?
But there is.
We have lots of alternatives, but we don't need those alternatives because we're going to have Joe Biden and the Vice President Harris, and we're going to have a successful ticket. We beat Trump once. He's less popular now today than he was when he was elected or beat in 2020. We'll beat him again.
Just quickly on the issue of abortion, this was going to be the big thing that was going to, after Roe v. Wade overturned in that other building down there, that was going to drive Democrats to the polls. Is it going to do that?
It is going to do that, but it can't be the only thing we've done. And I think the biggest mistake we've made as a party, we had a great abortion message. We did not have a great economic message. You cannot win elections if you're not competitive on the economy.
Frank, final question to you. If the Republicans get the House and possibly the Senate, can we expect a flurry of witch hunts, impeachments, investigations into Democrats this time around?
The very first thing you're going to get is an overturn of 87,000 new IRS agents. That is a demonstration that the Republicans understand quality of life issues. Government should be on your side. It should not be investigating you. It should not be prosecuting you. That's going to be, I predict, that's going to be vote number one in Washington.
Okay. Frank Luntz, Celinda Lake, thank you very much indeed to both of you.